The Mesa Cup is a series of free mapping challenges run on runthinkshootlive.com for the game Black Mesa Source. So today I'm going to be playing the first challenge of the Mesa Cup. The first challenge is called the Loop Complex, and the idea behind this challenge, the theme, was obviously looping. So you have to start off in an area and you have to work your way around the map and then end up back at that area having done something, having changed something, having, basically used the theme in a creative way instead of just coming back round again. So there had to be something to it. 5 maps were entered, or 5 entries into the Loop Complex, and I'm going to play through each one of them. Now, I am a judge for this, along with 4 other people, Phillip, Crowbar, and 2 guys from Crowbar Collective. I think they're 2 level designers. And I'll be writing up my review after this, so you can read that on the page. But also, this video will hopefully give the mappers more insight as to what they can change rather than a review. I think this video will help a lot. So the first map's called Another Route. Okay, so this map wasn't bad at all. It was a really good attempt, and it had a lot of the good elements in it, although there were obviously a lot of issues. First off, writing on screen. You didn't really need that text at all. Take that text out, nothing gets added, nothing gets taken away from the map. And it's kind of a bit cheap. But you can clearly see that these people have climbed in the elevator and they're going up. So obviously it's kind of hinting that you need to go up in this elevator, which doesn't quite make sense, but I'll hopefully come back and talk a bit more about that. So I'm going to go in here. You can kind of see the barnacles, smoke, steam, whatever it is. But once you get into this room, this guy breaks down, and it's just another distraction. I say this all the time in my videos, but instead of you just running in there, getting the crowbar, seeing this dead guy, which is, a good bit of storytelling. Well, you can see him from out here, but, you're kind of, it's just creating an environment that stuff has happened. There's also this barnacle that you can, you've got to deal with. You can either walk around him, distract him. Now, I get the impression this is an Easter egg, but it's an Easter egg that's not very well done. So these doors aren't supposed to be opened at all, which is why I think it's an Easter egg. But I honestly thought this was the way to go initially, the very, very first time I played it, because I have been playing these maps at least 5 or 6 times to, get the feel for all the different categories. There's 5 categories. But this just confused me, and it took a lot of my health off the first time because I thought I was trying to go through that vent. I think it's just an Easter egg. To me, it's completely pointless. There may be something in it, but it's not worth keeping on searching for. So, it wasn't very well done, that Easter egg. If you want to, add in an extra area, just make it in here, so, add something to find in there, although I still wouldn't have used this door. So, next, you kind of don't know what to do, because I was, trying to get through this elevator, trying to start this one. This one, it doesn't look like you can control it. There's no lights on that, there's nothing, but you can. And then you can climb in, and then you're supposed to be finding your way to the surface. So this is your, what you think is your escape until you get plunged into the water. I actually never explored that before. In all, 5 times I've played this already. Oh, he's shooting at me. Yeah, so we come in on a battle that you're not the main focus of, which is a really good thing to do in your maps. There's nothing worse than playing a map where wherever the player goes, everyone just fights them, and everyone's just in a room. So say if I walk into this room, there's a soldier there, HECU there, you know, they're all just there facing me, and I've got to fight them. So having these battles between NPCs help make the place feel more alive, make it feel more believable, and just add to the experience. And you can come in and you can strategize, like, which side am I going to take out first? This was something done in, for instance, Half-Life 2, when these Combine soldiers would be fighting zombies, and you'd think, well, who would be most beneficial to take out first? Obviously, taking out the Combine soldiers would be the more beneficial ones. So if we translate that into Black Mesa Source, it could be like, as that battle was there, like HECU versus the, you know, zombies, then the player can really plan ahead. Now here we've got zombies just standing there. You can, I think, yeah, you can use this guy to take them out. Get him to do all the work for you. Oh, he's stopped. Okay, let's get rid of these annoying head crabs. Take him out. So, I don't really see the point in that zone at all. And obviously, I think it's to show that the HECU were looking out for that, but it was, from a gameplay perspective, it was kind of a bit pointless. Although it was good that you could get behind the turret and use it to your advantage. So that is always a good thing. So that's a plus side, I guess, to that. We now have one of these swimming sections, which aren't done that often, and it's good that they've kind of got this thing that you can kind of just push, or you can break it. It's just something else to think about when you're underwater. I mean, it's not a particularly difficult section. It's not like you're out of breath completely or on the verge of drowning, but it's just something else for you to do. Also, I think if you hunt about, you can find health down here. Yeah, I mean, the room's a bit bare, but that's alright. So we can get that health. So there's also a health charger up here, which obviously we've got full health. We can charge up our battery power, which I shall do. Alright, there we go. So here we have a bit of hound-eye combat. As you saw there, that exploding tube, or whatever you call it, was placed in the middle of the corridor. I could have ran away back here, as I did many times when playing, and taken on the hound-eye there, but, you know, it also gave you extra tools to use. Also, we've got this guy who isn't particularly exciting. There's still more. I can't actually remember if there was anything in here. I don't think there was. Because you can put stuff... Oh yeah, there was one in that one. Now this elevator you can break. I broke it a few times by putting a prop between, you know, there. So it would just completely break. I'm not doing that this time because it's funny, but it's not productive. This is one of these other fights that it's not exactly the same. It's not the same, but even though these guys are on your side, they're still fighting another NPC class, so it just makes the world a bit more living. So it's fairly clear that that's the point of progression. There's nothing else here. Usually I've just been climbing up this, although there was a few times I had to yeah, I'll do that, pile boxes up, crates and stuff. It's not exactly user-friendly, but at the same time it's not a big deal. And then we're into, I think, the end of the map. Where we drop down, there is a zombie, so something has changed in the loop. Which is very good. It's good to always switch stuff around so to show that time has passed. Even though it was about, I don't know, 5 minutes or something. It still shows that something has happened. So I think that was the only thing to have changed. I don't know if we can open that. We can, but we don't want to be going back down there. And then we can get in the elevator, and that is the map. So there's a lot that can be taken from that map. There was a lot of good things in there. There was also a lot that could be done a lot differently. Like the Easter egg and the kind of pointless combat with the turret and the zombies. But otherwise there was many good elements to that. That can be taken away. Okay, the next map we're going to play is called Emergency. Okay, so here we are. This is Emergency, and first off we have a visual set piece that you can clearly see, and it's kind of foreshadowing what is to come. So this room you can see basically into a lot of areas that you're going to be in. So we will be at this point, at some point in the map, we will also be in this area. It's a bit dark, you can't quite see it. So we'll just get started. So it starts with this super simple puzzle, but it's still good nonetheless. Instead of just having like a ladder down, it makes you shoot the lock and the thing comes down, allowing you to climb up. So once I get in, this is a bit misleading because you try and break it. This vent model is basically what is used to signify you can break the vent. I think at some point, once you get round to that side, you will be able to break it, but at this point it doesn't make much sense. So it'd be better to find another way of stopping the player from getting through here at the present time, other than contradicting yourself much later on. So we go in here, there's a head crab to fight. Nice easy way of breaking the player into the combat, and then we drop into what's kind of like the main area of the map. It does give you cover, albeit it feels kind of a bit forced really, and made just because of the gameplay. I mean, this area, the brushwork's good, but the actual area isn't very believable, and I know it's because you've got to get the big guy through and all that, but it'd be good if a bit more detailing was done here. Again, there wasn't enough time, but trying to make these areas look at least believable is always a good thing for the visual category, the visuals category. So we've got these hound eyes. It's kind of just a linear battle where they're all spawning there. If they spawn different times, one spawned up here, one spawned down here, it would have been slightly more better, because then one would be charging from here, one would be charging from down there, and then another one spawned up here. They'd be spawning in different places instead of just in this area here. Now, I won't say too much about this hallway, but it seems quite weird how the doors are this big and yet you run into the staircase, but that's like a very tiny nitpick. So we've got a bit of zombie combat, or zombat as we're now calling it. We also get given the shotgun. So moving on, it presents us with kind of this scenario or situation. You're thinking, well, what do I do here? Now, incidentally, if you do walk into this area, you will anger this guy who just seems to spawn, I think. But that's just something to kind of surprise you as the player. So that's actually a good use of this, you know, the torso zombie, albeit it's very... I don't know why I just spawned in. If he did. But surprising the player like that in kind of a small area is a good use to put pressure on the player. So it was quite good. Now if you walk in here, it's kind of difficult to know what this area actually is in terms of what it should be in like Black Mesa, in the facility. But when you get down here, the player is kind of trapped. There's nothing to tell them how to progress. Now, this door may seem obvious, but to some it's not. And there needs to be some kind of signifier. So if there was a button at the side for the player to push, it would open. At the present time, all you're doing is just pushing the button on the actual door itself. So yes, there's not very many places you could go, but there still needs to be a guidance there, something to show the player that they can interact with the door. Now this battle seemed very enclosed for these guys. These guys are much better served in an open area, because in here you're not really getting the chance to dodge round like like these guys are for, basically, for dodging round and ducking and hiding and all that. Here it's just like an elevator shaft and it's quite enclosed. And they're a bit glitchy, but that's alright. So moving on, we're now in the electricity room. And there is a kind of a set sequence here, I don't know what you call it, where this guy teleports in, we don't know where from. I guess it doesn't matter, but we get given this gun, which will come in handy. Now here's a combat scenario that isn't done very well. You see that? They just ran up to me. They're in a corridor. Yes, I know I'm bad at combat, but that has literally no effect on the combat scenario itself. So you're a few meters away from the elevator that they run out. There's not that many places you can back down to, and shooting them at this range is almost certainly not fun nor thought-provoking. So having them spaced out at a distance, making sure that the player can't run up to them or they can't run up to the player, is what you're really aiming for. So it's good that this area is quite an open space for these guys. So for the alien grunts, he can chase after you. And I do commend the map for doing that. Instead of having these guys in a enclosed area, it's good to have them in an open area where they can chase you around. A bit like hunters in Half-Life 2. Okay, so there are barnacles there stopping you. You can go back into the area you were in before and get access to the health. And then we continue on. Now this isn't very clear at all. I ran right past this and spent ages trying to find it. The aim is to get that door open, and it may seem obvious at the moment, but if there was a M sprite on this, or something, it would be much more clear. It'd show that it was interactive, you know, because I ran right past, and I'm sure many other people did. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to push the button and that thing's going to open. You can see opening, which is good, but there needs to be some way to know that this button does something. So continuing on, we're now looping back, so we're now on top of this thing. Now, there is you know, stuff to find here. And whatnot. There's also this thing which I'm not entirely sure what that's for, but it makes a noise and all that. So yeah, I think the floor here can break. Yeah, most of the floor. So here's the vent that I was talking about. And then this guy comes in and he can break it. So it's not ideal that that model is for that. Now, once the player drops in, he can see we're being attacked, and yeah, it's basically a very short running section. It would have been so much more beneficial if it had been much longer than that, like in actual Half-Life or Black Mesa. Just to get like the full effect of it, you know, it's supposed to be like an epic chase sequence, and you're supposed to be running away, you're supposed to be ducking under stuff while he's just breaking through the walls, just trying to get away. But there it was just run to the door and that's it. Obviously with time constraints, that's a factor, but more time could have been put into that to make it a more fun, enjoyable experience. So that was Emergency, which had a lot of good concepts in it. So I'm saying that a lot of the concepts were good, but the execution of a lot of these weren't done so well. So a lot of guidance is needed to help the player along, and keeping the map consistent is also needed to make that map an enjoyable experience. Okay, we are now on cold storage.
Contamination control activated.
So in terms of introducing a map, that's a fairly good way of doing so. I mean, all it is you're in a contamination chamber and you're getting decontaminated. But it starts it in a more iconic way than just dropping you into the map and you running off. It's a little thing, but it goes a long way.
Over here!
Oh, thank God.
Get us out of here. Go, man, go!
So it's setting up the premise that you have to rescue these guys from the airlock, whatever you call it, whatever that thing is. And you can already see the solution. It couldn't be more simple. That button, pushing that button, gets these guys out. So already you've worked that out. But then the next issue is, well, how am I going to get around there? You can see the door, you can see the other side. Now you need to get around there. So already the whole map objective is shown to you. But then it's just a matter of getting around. So you can incidentally go upstairs. You can have a look about. It's a very open area, this. You can find that in there. I don't know if there's anything in here. But you cannot access these doors. Although it looks like you can, which is one thing I would say. If you could make them red and then somehow change them to white when they're open, that would be a lot better. Not sure how easy it is to do that, but that would be a better solution. Like for instance, these doors, it's clear that you can open them. So it's all pretty much alien combat in this map, which is good. It's not like you have to include the HECU in your map. You don't have to include every enemy in your map. But it's also good to space things out. So we will fight Vortigaunts. Alright, so did you notice that they weren't just standing there waiting for you? It wasn't like he was standing here waiting for you to come in. He was doing something, and this is something that this map does very well. It makes it feel like you're not just walking into enemies, just standing there waiting for you, which is something that a lot of people do. There's a bit of vent crawling, which you do need that in your maps. Well, I'm joking, but... So this situation is quite a good one for zombies, because it's a very enclosed space. It may not seem it, yeah, I can run over here. I can run way over here. But it is enclosed, and you're being attacked from two sides. You're being attacked from the back, so this guy's going to make a noise when you drop down. You're not going to see him. You're going to have to look behind, and then you get attacked from this side. So that's almost the proper use of zombies. I'm not saying that that's the only use of zombies, but that's a good use of utilising them in your maps. And then... there's stuff to find. I don't think there was anything in this room. And then there's some head crabs, which are, as far as I'm aware, they're just here to serve as a distraction, but they're not very necessary at this point. At this point, you want to be shaping up the combat, or taking it up a notch, which, even though we had Vertigons before, it did seem quite dull. Now, notice how that guy wasn't just... again, he was doing something else. He was walking over there, as Vertigons tend to do. Or, that Vertigon tended to do. And I'll talk a bit about the area once I get these guys. It's not like you can just run all over the place. You can run and you can jump through these areas, but it still acts as kind of a barrier to stop these guys just running through. And it doesn't make it easy for the player to just run through, obviously. There's a lot of jumping and whatnot. So it's good to have the guy spawning in there when you're out here. And it's also just a pretty open area. You can see kind of a foreshadow of what is to come. I'll talk more about that when it happens. But for now we need to press on. There's actually, I don't know if you heard it, that scream. There's a lot of that in this map, a lot of ambient creepiness going on, which is always good to attempt. I mean, not having a scream in every single vent isn't what you should be doing, but just having these noises that make it feel a lot a lot more lively and weird is good. Now, this thing bursting, I think, was to keep the player from just jumping on. So I could have just gone whoop, whoop. What happened is, the thing came on, I stopped. Even that time I did it after playing about 5 or 6 times. I stopped, and then these guys spawned. So it added as kind of a distraction for the player to stop, think, oh, what's that? And then these guys spawn, and then they can fight. And it doesn't really do very much. But it still acted, it did its job very well, basically. So this is where we were before, I believe. So we're kind of seeing the areas where we've been, and it's good to make good use of space. There's another scream. Okay, there we go. So we can explore the toilets. There's just something to explore. I don't think there's anything of any value in any of these toilets. And now there's 2 head crabs in here, which again are just an annoyance, but they're just there to give the player something to do. So quite fun to use the shotgun on them, even though the shotgun should really be used for the more difficult enemies. I think this is where the Vertigaunt was before, but they've now moved, basically. I don't know what the thinking behind that was, but I guess it's just to show that things change in the world. And that's a good, good thing to do. I think I mentioned it a few maps ago. Just to show that not everything's static in the world. So now we're out the doors that we saw at the start. I'll just take these guys out. These guys are actually quite confusing, and what happened was... Okay, I'm shooting him at blank range and I can't... Point blank range and I can't kill him. That's how bad I am. Obviously making me unqualified to speak about any of this stuff, according to some people allegedly, but what happened is as soon as these guys spawned, I just jumped immediately down here and thought, that'll be me able to get in there, and I was hunting about here. So if you are quite an aggressive player in your fighting and combat when playing, that could have acted as quite a distraction, but it's just something for, for the player to do. It was quite good because they're now, if they drop down there, you actually had to fight them on a vertical level, which is a lot more entertaining, and they could run up here, but it's good that they're down there and they can still hit you down there. But obviously, I completely missed the zombies coming out of here the first time. You can walk around, I don't think there's anything else in here. No, yeah, hound eyes. And also Vertigaunts. Which in this scenario, it would be a lot more beneficial. Oh, if they weren't running straight up to the player like that. It would be beneficial if they stood at the end of that corridor and you had to either take them out or find a way around. That would have made a much more entertaining scenario. Interesting visual scenario or visual thing here is that you can see this this man and the weapon and the ammo, and you think you're going to reach that. You think that's going to be a part of your the main progression. It's not, but I'll show you it when it happens. So these doors, you can see it can't open. I don't know if you can actually, I never actually explored that further, if you can actually see inside the room and see what you're going to be up against. I don't think so. But it's just to show that there is a room there and you will be getting to the room. Now here's quite a good bit of a good scenario. These Vertigaunts again are just going about their usual life, and it gives you a chance to engage them when you want. So when you break the vent, they then get alerted. But basically what's happening is you as the player are getting to dictate when the combat gets initiated, which is a really good thing. It would have maybe been better if even when you didn't break the vent, or even when you did break the vent, they still didn't look around and you could go down here. But as soon as you cross down on this point, maybe there's a trigger here that alerted them to you, then that would have maybe been a better solution for this scenario. But overall it was very, very well done, and it's something that you should be aiming for when you're making Black Mesa maps. Again, there's kind of a bit of environmental storytelling. Environmental storytelling in Black Mesa Source doesn't just consist of dead people, but it's always good to show that there's a bit of conflict going on. So this door just leads round to this area. It could just be part of the whole looping thing. I'm not entirely sure what the thinking was behind that. There is, incidentally, stuff to get. And then we can continue on. So at this point we can actually see the start of the map. We can see the people we're trying to rescue. We can see the door, and we can almost see the console. So we can see our objective we're in reach. Now we can't just jump down here, I think. So, and this area is completely pointless. So we've got to find a way down there using this door. Now, yeah, if we look through here, we'll be able to see where we were, and we'll also be able to kind of see the gun. I don't know if that would click to most players instantly, but it's giving you a hint at where this weapon is. Now, this area is full of barnacles, which add as an extra distraction, as I've said many times before. And it's also got these guys, who are just annoying at this point. But you make it into this room, and watch out for the barnacle. I don't think there was anything on this side. I think this side... Just, yeah. So it's this side. And you get rewarded for being... or paying attention and looking about. And if you reward the player for this sort of stuff, it just makes the whole experience a lot more fun, and it's almost like a challenge, like find these hidden areas and, you know, get good weapons. Oh yeah, we've got to push the button. So now we enter the final combat scenario where I think we have to initiate the battle by pushing the button. So we can see the button now, we can see our friends, or the scientists, and we push the button, and it doesn't allow you in because of the aliens, basically. So this is kind of an arena zone, which is quite wide. It's got quite a lot of space that you can move about, especially when a lot of the tougher enemies come, like the Vortigaunts and the Grunts. Oh. So we're now going to use the gun that we found as a hidden bonus. And we're going to completely miss with it. There we go, got him. Okay, so first time I played that battle, I didn't find this weapon. I ran out of ammo on this thing, and I think I'd already run out of ammo on the shotgun. So obviously we did get a bit of ammo, but I ran out of ammo completely, and I couldn't make it back up to there. I don't think. Yeah, I tried that. I couldn't make it back up to the top. So these Vortigaunts up in the walkway were still alive, and the voice didn't trigger and the door didn't open. So I was stuck there with no ammo, and I couldn't progress. And that kind of thing needs to be avoided against, or there needs to be kind of fail-safes in case the player does run out of ammo completely. Now there may be another way around it that I just haven't thought of, but I tried and I couldn't find any, so yeah. But now we've completed the map, we come out here and the map ends. So overall that map was really, really good. It was really well done. And it included a lot of the gameplay elements that should be included. Like the Vortigaunts not just facing you or spawning in, but they're actually doing stuff. And the looping was really well done, as you could see the outcome immediately. And then it led you around in a loop, and then you got back to where you were afterwards. So overall, that was a really great map with a lot of good things in it. Alright, we're now on Conflicted Interest. Alright. This map starts in a nice big area, as you can see. It's actually quite good. Obviously, if the mapper had more time, it would be good to detail a lot more of this, but it's a good kind of focal point, a good starting area. That's also used as an ending area, incidentally, but I will get to that later. So, by hunting about, you can find the crowbar, where there's this dead guy. There's a lot of dead people in Black Mesa Source. There's a lot of dead people in Black Mesa, the fictional place. So we get into this kind of questionable ethics zone. And that set piece there, where this guy's getting thrown on the floor, I think he's probably completely dead by now, is a good visual thing that... Yeah, that happens. Yeah, that it's kind of a good introduction to the enemies, the zombies. It just makes it more interesting, rather than some mappers who just place a zombie here and then he'd start walking towards you. There, he was throwing the guy on the floor. So we can see the door, and by going up here and pushing this button, the door is opened. Now, I would say it would be a lot better if you could see the door getting opened, even though it's blindingly obvious because you're going to walk back out the door. It's always good to know exactly what it is you're trying to achieve when pushing this, and I don't think there was anything else to tell you. So that's the only thing. It's good for the player to know exactly what it is they're doing when they're pushing a button. So in terms of creating an area from the actual game, this is quite a well done area from like questionable ethics. So the mappers really captured the theme and used all the correct assets to kind of make it seem like a level from questionable ethics. So I think that was it for this room, and then we walk into this room where Zen stuff has been growing and all that, where we're going to come up against these guys who are sleeping. You can clearly see they're sleeping, although I completely missed them first time. So I think that by just walking past them, it's good, but it'd be better if you actually had to sneak past them. Like, you couldn't go in the water. By going in the water, that would be alerting them. I think by shooting them, they wake up. So that the concept to that was really good, but I think it could have been done much better by making the player, as I said, sneak past them if they make a sound or anything, or the water, then they wake up. So it's more of a challenge rather than just walk past them. Alright, so you can actually see that seems to be having absolutely no effect on him. I thought he would have woken up, but usually I actually come round, so it kind of blocks what's happening, so by the time you get around here, then he stands up. Oh, I think we've broken his soundscape. Yeah. Oh no, I don't know what's going on there. So now, as you can see, we're getting attacked by a turret. And it gives you kind of the solution immediately. And if you look, you can clearly see there is an exploding box there. So it's kind of giving you all the necessary tools to completely take him out. I'm just going to have tons of soda drinks at the same time, because why not? Also, you can find the 357 down here. Again, it's off the beaten track. If you were rushing through it, you just walk right through there. Maybe you'd go over here and get some of the collectibles you can find over here, or just that. But you can also see through there. You can get collectibles. Just a bit of foreshadowing. But yeah, it's good that they added in the Magnum. The 357. In here we have a combat scenario with Vortigaunts. It gives you a lot of space to back down. There's also a big guy, a grunt. And then I think there's some... Yeah. This is what I was talking about. I think it was the first map. There is an ongoing battle that you, as the player, come upon. You're not the one who starts the battle. You are the one who just so happens to walk in on it. And it's the grunts versus... or the aliens versus the HECU. And I think it could be possible for the aliens to win it, perhaps. I don't know if the outcome is rigged, but it always tends to be that these guys win it. At least for me, I can't remember a time. Here we see a security guard who is opening the doors. Now that's not very obvious, because the first couple of times I was walking about and I'm like, well, why are the doors open? Why did they open by themselves? So something needs to be done to ensure the player sees this guy. If it's like an event happening in this area, or something that makes the player come over here and actually look and see the guy, that would be a lot more beneficial.
Don't take this the wrong way, buddy, but you're the best thing I've seen all day. Alright, let's move.
So you need to get him to follow you. This is quite annoying because sometimes he doesn't follow or whatever. But you need this guy, which it's good to have, but again, it's annoying for some players.
Ready when you are.
I think that's one of these times where he just doesn't follow. Okay, I did not expect that. But yeah, that was, again, another battle which you as the player comes in on. It was very close to the player, and that guy did just run through the door. A lot of the combat does need to be tidied up. What's this guy on about? And here it's just very corridor combat. So all you're doing is running down a corridor. These guys are spawning. It's not as exciting as previous combat encounters we've seen. Is this guy still following? Yeah, I usually get stuck.
You know where to find me. Let's get the hell out of here.
It's usually on these stairs he gets completely stuck.
55% power, 70% power, 85%.
He's still getting...
Alright, I'll stay here. Alright, let's go.
Still getting stuck. And that leads us into the final zone. So this guy, he goes in here, and I think he's trying to open the door. I think that's what the premise is. and he's going to work at his computer. And then we get attacked by all sorts of enemies, like Vortigaunts, head crabs. So I like to conserve ammo at this early stage, which is what I'm doing. It's just a strategy. It probably annoys everyone, but I really don't care. And we also can stock up on ammo through here. So this is one of these situations where you've kind of got to find all the enemies before another wave spawns, which is good in practice. It sounds good on paper, but it can be not reliable sometimes. So sometimes the enemies will glitch out, sometimes they will fall down places. It's probably not easy for the head crabs to fall down there, but sometimes you just can't find them, so you need to make sure that you're that you've got it all worked out. Okay, I'll stop talking and concentrate, because usually it's when I'm talking I start making stupid mistakes. Oh yes, I am so rubbish at combat. Please tell me how it's meant to be. And the battle is quite wide, but it's not interesting. It's just taking down enemy after enemy, which is kind of what you've been doing for the majority of the map. So it doesn't really add anything. It's not really a good ending. Oh gee, we're low. And then this guy gets completely wrecked, and the map ends. So I don't actually get that bit at all. I thought we were actually going to get through, but there wasn't actually an ending. So overall, the map wasn't bad, but it could have done a lot more to make it more fun and interesting. And it could have just been more than combat. There could have been more things to actually do other than just fighting. Alright, so the final map is called Oasis. Okay. So at the very beginning of this map, there is a scenario.
He could be here. Watch out. Copy that.
So these guys are chatting. You can clearly see they're chatting. You can clearly see they've not noticed you, which makes it feel less like walking into a room and just having these guys just facing you. And you can actually sneak about the place here, which is great. And you know, it makes you feel like you're actually on like the mission. I don't. Oh yeah, it did make a noise. But I don't think it alerted them, which I always thought was strange. But once you creep up to them, then they will continue to walk on and have a bit of dialogue, just making it feel like a believable scenario. So it's actually really really well done. And then they notice you when they shout that, and then you run into the elevator, and the door should close. Yeah. And that sort of stuff is not done nearly enough in maps.
Check your sectors.
Now, I thought these guys were going to like call the lift down and chase after me, which I'm not sure how good that would have been, but they're just now standing there, which is a bit strange. And continually here you can see, you know, the different areas, so you can have a look in there. You know, we'll be coming out there. And here, it's just one of these areas where you can collect stuff. It's kind of very slowly breaking you into the map, but it's not a bad thing. And then you come upon this guy. Now this bit confused me the very first time, because he's running. I thought, what on earth is he doing? He's just running, and then once we see this guy, you know, you continue to follow him, and I like the way this has been done. These I guess it's like volumetric lights. I don't know actually how it's done, but it just makes the place look beautiful anyway. So once you get like up to that point, you then realise that this guy is a friend of yours, or not going to run at you and, you know, begin the tinnitus. And this area is used again in the map as part of the loop, but again I'll come back and speak about that. I don't actually know what that song was. I'm not actually familiar with it, but anyway, so here we've got this puzzle. It's one that has been seen before, but is again not done very much. And you can see the control room, but you can't really see the button. But this guy, he's making a noise prompting you, I guess. Let's get that. So yeah, I'll show you what not to do, or if you weren't aware, I'll show you what to do. So you go in here and you can clearly see what this button does. So you're thinking, if you haven't worked it out, or you hadn't worked out, then you're thinking, well, what can I do to make sure it doesn't, you know, or I can get through there, because one door always has to be closed, so you're never going to be able to get through it. Obviously the solution is super easy. It even says do not obstruct, which is one of these things. It tells you not to do something, but that's the way, you know, that's because that's the solution. So here we can see the thing closes, this thing opens, and then, well, we'll find out what happens when I get round the other side. But basically your friend gets completely obliterated, but you can see this guy, he is waiting. And by this time you've kind of got a sense that all aliens in this map are on your side. Yeah, so simply walk up here, push the button, you can see what it's doing, because it is a viewing platform. He's going to walk out the door, and you have to go back. And this guy is not like this guy's just going to help you fight, he's going to help you progress, and it's just again to hit home with this, they're on your side and they're going to help you. So if you watch here, if the thing plays out correctly, there we go. I'm not sure if that's how it works, you know, the doors just slide open once he hits it, but that's okay. Everything doesn't have to be realistic, or, well, nothing should be made to real world standards anyway. So yeah, as I said, he's helping you progress as well. So then there's this kind of open combat scenario that is one of the better ones I've seen, because it divides it up into 3 sections, but not obviously. Now I'll explain it when we're finished. There's also turrets in here. So if you had a grenade, which I don't, but you could probably try and take them out. So what I was going to say is this battle scenario is built on 3 sections, and it's not obvious, but this part over here is your zone. So it's kind of like a, I don't know, multiplayer map, where this is your, I guess you'd call it a spawn area. This is the middle fighting ground. It's broken up with pillars and desks, and this over here is the enemies. So it clearly defines what side's what, and it also gives you cover, and they've also got the same cover basically. So if you choose to push into the middle section, chances are you're going to be engaging at fairly close range. But if you stay over your side, the majority of the time you're not going to be fighting them close range, but it's going to be quite a long distance. And it's also great how these windows are used just as kind of something that happens when you try and shoot the HECU. Anyway, this... Oh yeah, we'll continue on. And it very clearly, it's got an M sprite on it. You push the button and it shows you what you've done, basically. And that's really good, because we have had a few maps where I said, you know, you don't know what you're doing. This one, you definitely know what you are doing. It also has one up there, so... You then have to work your way this way again. And then you've got... a battle which you can cheat on like that, or you can actually go in and try and get them like that. And there are more through this door. At least I thought there, yeah, they'll come through the ceiling actually. And notice how they're not just running up to you like in some maps. They're staying back. Okay, this guy is kind of running up to us, but again, it's not like he is like right up to us where this guy is at the moment. So it gives you plenty of space and whatnot. So now we get to the Osprey fight. Now what this map does is, it doesn't just give you an endless supply of rockets straight away. Oh, this guy just seems to be like spinning about everywhere. But yeah, it doesn't give you an endless supply. It makes you go actually like move about the level. So you've got to move over here. It gives you cover when you find them, but it's not endless cover. So once you're here, you can't keep firing. You can't just camp here. You've actually got to move around here. Now there does come a point where the Osprey shoots this thing, and there is an endless supply in here, but it's not behind cover, it's out in the open. So it's this kind of trade-off. Yeah, this trade-off where it's either you can go and get one and hide behind cover, although this one was like around here, but there's cover here for you, or you can get the endless supply eventually when it happens. So that was actually one of the better maps. It's not very vertical. Like what I guess one of these fights I meant, the fight would have benefited from being a bit more vertical. Obviously, we're in a parking lot here. That's just the setting that is used. But one of these fights with a lot more verticality would be a lot better. But overall, this map was one of the better maps, if not the best map in the Loot Complex. Obviously, with the bit at the start, the stealth part, even though it wasn't like stealth, it was just a scenario that allowed you to kind of play it at your own pace. They've not noticed you. You can sneak past. You can get quite far as well. And then the looping worked well. You're trying to get out the door. You had to find a way to do that. And along the way, you met your friends, one of which died, the other one didn't. And yeah, overall, there was a lot of good things about that made it a really spectacular and special map. Okay, so that was the final map of the Loop Complex. But thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all soon. Goodbye.